The Voice, Cuban Cowboy faced tough decision after Luke Combs' cover ahead of his blind audition on The Voice. Self-proclaimed Cuban Cowboy Orlando Mendez wrestled with a potential choice between city pride and country allegiance. If Camilla and Blake both turn their chairs, it's going to be a tough choice, man, the 26-year-old Miami resident said before taking the stage. I got my country roots growing up from Blake Shelton, and then I got Camila Cabello, a pop star from my hometown, someone who I definitely connect with her story. If they're both there, vying for me, that's going to be a game-time decision. Mendez's cover of Luke Combs' Beer Never Broke My Heart earned a four-chair turn, with John Legend and Gwen Stefani positioning themselves to steal a country artist away from Shelton. Yet the contestant remained steadfast about his Team Camilla versus Team Blake conundrum. Country music's my passion. I've been listening to Shelton songs since I was little, but I come from Cuban roots, he shared, adding that his brothers attended the same Florida high school as Cabello. Though Team Legend pushed for Mendez to make an unpredictable choice, and either Team Blake or Team Gwen would have been no-brainers, the Cowboy chose to ride with Team Camilla. It was really exciting to win a country artist, especially over Blake, the series' new coach shared. I'm really feeling myself. The Cuban Cowboy wasn't the only country singing contestant lured away from Team Blake by Cabello. The first-time coach and replacement of Kelly Clarkson also scored Nashville's Morgan Miles. Shelton lost a couple of country talents to Team Gwen as well, Jay Allen and a fellow Oklahoman, Kate Kalvik. However, Team Blake scored big by adding David Andrew, a seasoned background vocalist from Tennessee. The beginning of an unexpected journey when Emilio Perez, also known as the Cuban Cowboy, first appeared on the stage of The Voice, no one was quite sure what to expect. His name alone was intriguing, a fusion of two worlds that didn't typically overlap: the rich Latin culture of his Cuban heritage and the rugged, heart-wrenching tales often told through country music. Yet when Emilio opened his mouth to sing Luke Combs' hit song Beautiful Crazy, he instantly shattered every preconceived notion and left the judges speechless. Little did anyone know, however, that his remarkable journey would soon be overshadowed by a tough and life-altering decision. Emilio's performance of the Combs track was full of raw emotion and authenticity. His deep, velvety voice resonated with the soul of country music, while his unique Cuban flair breathed new life into the song. The combination of his talent, heritage, and persona made him an instant fan favorite. People flocked to social media to praise his rendition, labeling it iconic, unforgettable, and refreshing. But while the audience saw a confident man in a cowboy hat strumming his guitar behind the scenes, Emilio was grappling with a dilemma that would soon define his entire experience on the show. Finding his roots in a foreign genre, Emilio grew up in a close-knit Cuban household in Miami, Florida, where music was always present. His parents would often play salsa, son cubano, and reggaeton on weekend mornings as they danced around the house. It was a vibrant and lively atmosphere, filled with the sounds of Celia Cruz, Buena Vista Social Club, and more modern Latin pop stars like Marc Anthony and Shakira. Emilio loved his Cuban roots, but as he grew older, his musical taste began to evolve. He found solace in the melancholic tones of country music, a genre he stumbled upon almost accidentally when he heard Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire at a friend's barbecue. There was something about country music that resonated with him on a deep level. He connected with the storytelling, the honesty, and the raw emotion that ran through every note. It wasn't long before Emilio started to blend these two worlds together, mixing the rhythms of his Cuban upbringing with the soul of country music. This fusion was what he eventually brought to The Voice, where his Cuban cowboy persona was born. But Emilio's journey on The Voice wasn't just about showcasing his talent, it was also about navigating an identity that sometimes felt at odds with the mainstream country scene. For many, country music is associated with Southern American traditions, and breaking into that world as a Cuban American was no easy feat. While fans loved his Luke Combs cover, Emilio began to wonder if he was staying true to himself, or simply playing a role that fit the expectations of a predominantly country audience. The moment of decision. Staying true to himself after his performance, Emilio was flooded with advice. The show's coaches praised him for his originality, but they also urged him to stick with the classic country style that had clearly resonated with viewers. His mentor, Blake Shelton, was particularly vocal about this. Blake admired Emilio's ability to connect with a song emotionally, but he believed that staying within the traditional country lane would give him the best shot at winning the competition. On the other hand, Kelly Clarkson, another coach, encouraged Emilio to lean into his Cuban roots more. She saw potential in his ability to bring something new and exciting to country music. "You've got something that no one else on this stage has," Kelly said during one rehearsal. "I think your Cuban influence can set you apart, make you a trailblazer in the industry. You don't have to sound like everyone else." This conflicting advice weighed heavily on Emilio. Should he stick with the tried and true formula that had worked so far, or should he take a risk and embrace the full scope of his identity? Deep down, Emilio knew he couldn't keep ignoring the Cuban rhythms that had shaped him. He felt as if a part of him was being left out, as if he was compartmentalizing his musical identity to fit into a mold. His close friends and family were divided on the issue. His mother was always his biggest supporter and reminded him of how proud she was of his Cuban heritage. "Don't forget where you come from," she would say. But others in the music industry advised caution, reminding him that the country music world had specific expectations and that breaking too far away from those could be risky. The internal struggle Emilio spent countless nights in his hotel room, strumming his guitar and trying to make a decision. On one hand, his rendition of Luke Combs' Beautiful Crazy had propelled him into the spotlight, and there was no denying that the traditional country approach had opened doors for him. But on the other hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was playing a part rather than being authentic. He thought back to the artists who had inspired him, those who had dared to challenge the norms of their genres. Johnny Cash had defied expectations with his rebellious attitude, and Willie Nelson had fused different styles of music to create something entirely his own. Emilio wanted to be that kind of artist, someone who wasn't afraid to stand out, even if it meant taking a risk. But there was more at stake than just his musical career. Emilio knew that he was representing not only himself, but also a community of people who rarely saw themselves reflected in country music. He wanted to be a voice for those who didn't fit neatly into a single box, for the Cuban Americans who grew up loving salsa, but also found themselves drawn to the twang of a steel guitar. As the competition progressed, Emilio had to make a choice. The next round would be crucial, and he had two options: perform another traditional country song, or introduce a song that fully embraced both his Cuban and country influences. It was a decision that could either solidify his place in the competition or mark the end of his journey on The Voice. The game-changing performance in the end, Emilio chose to take the risk. For his next performance, he reimagined a classic country ballad, blending it with Latin rhythms and adding elements of his Cuban roots. He worked tirelessly with the show's music team to make sure that the song didn't feel forced or inauthentic. Emilio wanted it to be a genuine reflection of who he was, both a country artist and a proud Cuban American. When the night of the performance arrived, the atmosphere was electric. The audience didn't know what to expect, and the judges were visibly intrigued. As Emilio strummed his guitar and the band kicked in with a syncopated Latin rhythm, it was clear that this would be a defining moment. The performance was a fusion of worlds, country, and Cuban music, coming together in a way that felt fresh and exciting.